The house was way too quiet when it happened. Not the peaceful kind of quiet. No, the creepy, heavy kind, where you start hearing things you're not supposed to hear. The ticking of the kitchen clock felt like it was counting down to something, and even the refrigerator had stopped humming like it didn't want to witness what was coming. I was sorting through a pile of mail I'd been avoiding for, 3 weeks? Because every envelope looked like bad news. Electric bill, insurance reminder, a coupon for dog food, even though we don't have a dog. Real uplifting stuff. My life basically felt like one big pile of unopened envelopes. Then my phone buzzed. I didn't rush to check it. Honestly, I didn't want more stress. But when I picked it up and saw the message, my stomach dropped so hard I swear I heard it hit the floor. Friend needed company, be home soon. No context, no name, no timeline, nothing. And normally, I would have let it slide, because I've been working on not overthinking like she keeps telling me. But that night, of all nights, I had just overheard her earlier on a call whispering something like, "No, don't worry, he won't find out." She claimed it was about a surprise birthday gift for her sister. Right, because whispering is totally normal for gift planning. So when that vague text came in, my brain just snapped sideways. I didn't yell, didn't send a long guilt trip message. I just typed the first thing my anxiety-soaked brain spit out. Sure, say hi to Chris. I wasn't expecting anything. Maybe a LOL what? Or a wrong friend. Or even the classic stop being paranoid. But instead, nothing. Absolutely nothing. The 3 little dots popped up, disappeared, came back, disappeared again. She typed more in those 10 seconds than she had typed to me all week and sent 0 words. And suddenly, the house didn't feel quiet anymore. It felt like it was waiting. I set the phone down, pretending I wasn't spiraling, pretending my hands weren't sweating like I was in a police interrogation. I tried to keep sorting the mail, but even the envelopes felt accusatory. 10 minutes later, my phone lit up again, but not with a text. With her GPS notification. She'd turned on location sharing. She never turns on location sharing. Another minute passed, then another. And suddenly, thud, her car door slammed outside, followed by the fastest footsteps I'd ever heard from her, like she sprinted from the driveway to the door without taking a breath. The door flew open so hard it hit the wall. She rushed inside, hair messy, breathing quick, eyes darting like she was searching the house for hidden cameras. "Ellis," she called out, voice shaky. "Where are you?" I didn't answer. I just stepped out from the kitchen. She froze. Completely froze. Her eyes locked on my face with this terror. Not surprise. Not confusion. Terror. And that's when I realized. She wasn't scared because I texted about Chris. She was scared because she thought I knew something. And honestly, in that moment, I didn't know the truth yet. But she didn't know that. And her face alone told me I wasn't wrong. She didn't speak right away. Her mouth opened, then shut again like her brain was buffering. She had no bag, no jacket, no explanation, just her phone clutched in her hand like it was a weapon that backfired. Her eyes were wild, flicking between me and the coffee table, then to the hallway, then back to me like she was checking if anything had moved. I didn't say a word. I just stood there, letting the silence sit like fog between us. It was awful and beautiful because she was unraveling. I didn't need proof anymore. Her panic was screaming louder than any text ever could. She finally forced a smile, this weird, twitchy one. "You scared me," she said, voice way too high-pitched. What was that text supposed to mean? Her tone was light, like she was playing it off, but her fingers were gripping her phone so tightly that her knuckles turned white. I didn't blink. I just said, "Chris, huh?" And that's when she actually dropped her phone. Literally. It hit the hardwood with a thud, the kind of sound that makes you flinch even if you're not guilty. She scrambled to pick it up like her life depended on it. Then came the stammering. "Wait, what do you mean? I wasn't with Chris. I mean, I wasn't with anyone you know. It wasn't like that. It wasn't like that." She said that before I said anything. That told me everything I needed. I hadn't accused her of anything. I just said a name. And her alibi collapsed on its own. But I still played dumb, because I wanted to watch her dig deeper. "So," I asked, slowly walking toward the counter, pretending to clean a non-existent crumb. "Who needed company then? Must have been someone important. You left fast." She blinked. It was Kendra. She just broke up with her boyfriend. I swear, I was just trying to help." I nodded like I bought it. "Oh, that's weird," I said. Because Kendra posted a selfie 20 minutes ago at her sister's birthday dinner. In Chicago. The air went still. I didn't follow Kendra. But Amanda didn't know that. Her face went blank for a split second, like her body rebooted. Wait. I didn't say Kendra. I meant Kendall. From yoga. Kendall doesn't exist. At least, I don't think she does. Amanda always throws out names like confetti when she's cornered, hoping one will stick. But this time, none of them were sticking. She was spiraling. Ellis, she said, suddenly shifting gears. Why are you acting like this? You're making me feel attacked. Classic. Now I was the problem. I was the crazy one. I was supposed to believe that vague texts, nervous breakdowns, and teleporting friends were all just one big misunderstanding. But I stayed quiet. Because I had already made my move before she walked through that door. She didn't know it yet, but her phone had already backed itself up to my cloud. I didn't even mean for it to happen. Some fluke update sync had kicked in when she charged her phone on my side of the bed the night before. Dumb luck. Or karma. And sitting on my laptop in the next room was a full mirror of her messages, including a thread from someone saved as DS, with texts like, "You sure he won't find out?" And "Tonight was risky, but worth it." D.S. wasn't Chris. At least, not by name. But I had a strong feeling that D.S. had a face. A real one. And she was about to learn that secrets can only rot in the dark for so long. What I hadn't decided yet was how much I was going to let her destroy herself before I showed her the truth. She started pacing. I don't know if it was guilt, panic, or habit, but she looked like a caged animal trying to find an invisible exit. Every few seconds, she'd glance at me like she was trying to figure out what I knew and what I was bluffing. I didn't give her anything. I just kept sipping water like it was the most casual night of my life while she self-destructed across the living room. "You're being really cold right now," she finally said, arms crossed, like she was the one who'd been wronged. "It's like you don't even trust me anymore. And that hurts. It really hurts, Ellis." That part stung. Not because it was true. Because she said it with the same voice she used the night my dad died, like she thought if she sounded sincere enough, I'd forget everything leading up to this moment. But I couldn't forget. I couldn't unsee the way she flinched at the name Chris, or how her story changed 3 times in 5 minutes, or how she rushed back here like the house might be on fire. I wanted to scream. I wanted to shake her and demand the truth. But instead, I leaned against the counter and asked, "What does DS stand for?" That was it. No tone, no accusations, just a question. Her eyes went wide. Her mouth opened slightly, then shut again. Then she did that thing, bit the inside of her cheek. She only does that when she's lying or cornered. "DS?" She repeated like I was speaking a different language. I don't know what you're talking about." God, she was bad at this. And it hurt even more because she used to be better. Back when we were younger, when we still laughed at each other's dumb jokes and cuddled during movie nights instead of sitting 3 feet apart like strangers, she could at least lie with some finesse. But now, she couldn't keep up with her own web. "You know," I said, slowly walking toward my laptop. "The one who said, 'Tonight was risky but worth it.' That DS." She didn't follow me. She stood still like her feet were glued to the floor. Her whole face collapsed. There was no more pretending. No more fake cheer. Just pure, unfiltered dread. Her mouth trembled like she wanted to speak, but couldn't find a single word that wouldn't betray her. And honestly, I wanted to feel satisfied. I wanted to feel powerful for once. But all I felt was sick. She finally whispered, "You went through my phone?" Like that was the sin. I raised an eyebrow. "Technically, you backed it up to my account." I just opened the folder. She had no response. She sank onto the arm of the couch and held her head in her hands. I stood across the room, watching the woman I thought I knew fall apart. But still, she didn't confess. She didn't apologize. She didn't say the name. All she said was, "I didn't mean for it to happen like this." Like what? Like me catching you? Like your lies finally catching up? Then how did you want it to happen? I asked. She looked up at me with the saddest eyes I'd ever seen. And what she said next? It wasn't an answer. It was a threat. Her voice was quiet, but it cut like broken glass. "You don't want to do this, Ellis. You really don't." She wasn't begging. She wasn't crying. She was warning me. Like I had started a game she was more than ready to finish. And suddenly, I realized something terrifying. She hadn't lost control. She just shifted into a different kind. The kind where she stops pretending to be innocent and starts making sure I look like the villain. I froze. Excuse me? I asked, my voice cracking even though I was trying so hard to stay calm. She stood up slowly, brushing imaginary dust from her jeans, like she was collecting herself before battle. You're going to ruin everything over a few texts and some paranoia. You think anyone's going to side with you when you've been going through my phone, spying on me, setting traps? That was the moment it hit me. She didn't think she had done something wrong. She thought I had. Because I'd caught her. Because I dared to connect the dots. Because I said Chris, and she panicked. And now she was flipping the narrative faster than I could process. I laughed. Not because it was funny, but because I couldn't believe how confidently she said it. So that's your angle? Make me out to be the crazy husband who hacked your phone? I shook my head. You left a digital trail so sloppy it might as well have been spray painted across the walls. She didn't even flinch. You know what people believe? The first person who talks. And I've already texted my mom. My sister, Kendra. I told them you were acting unstable and threatening to accuse me of things I haven't done. My stomach flipped. My hands went cold. She had gotten ahead of me. She'd planted seeds while I was standing here, thinking silence would somehow win. She knew how this game worked better than I did. And that was when I finally realized I wasn't just dealing with a liar. I was dealing with someone who had practiced this. How long? I asked. How long has this been going on? She didn't answer right away, just stared at me with eyes that looked almost bored. Long enough for you to start slipping and not notice. Long enough for me to start imagining what life would be like without walking on eggshells every time you sighed. So now it was my fault. Because I sighed, I felt this strange pressure in my chest, like rage and heartbreak were wrestling in there, and I wasn't sure which one would win. I gave you everything, I said. Every second, every dollar. I let you quit your job to focus on your painting. I paid your student loans. And you repay me by. Ellis, she cut in sharply. You're not a victim. You're just weak. That's why I couldn't tell you. That one sentence knocked the wind out of me. Not the cheating. Not the lying. The way she said it, like she'd been holding it in for years. Like she'd decided that being with someone like me, someone who loved too hard and didn't know when to draw a line, was a burden. I backed away slowly, not because I was scared of her physically, but because I finally understood what I was standing in the room with. A woman who'd burned the bridge behind her and wanted me to drown in the smoke. But I wasn't going to drown. Not yet. Because while she was busy crafting her story, I'd already done something she hadn't noticed. Something that would change the game completely. I didn't say anything after that. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just went quiet, like something inside me folded in on itself. And that silence, oddly enough, gave me clarity. Because while she stood there, pacing like she owned the truth, I was watching her from a different angle now. Not as my wife. Not even as a person I loved. But as someone who was actively trying to erase me before I could defend myself. She kept talking, rambling about how I'd twisted everything and invaded her privacy, and how she was allowed to have friends. But her voice sounded so far away, like I was underwater. My mind had already drifted to something I had done earlier, something I hadn't even thought much about at the time. That morning, before any of this blew up, I'd gotten this weird tech ad online about home security bundles. It reminded me that our security cams were overdue for a system update. So I opened the app and reset the settings, without realizing it had defaulted back to constant audio and video capture. Full room sound, front hallway, even the kitchen, which meant the past hour of this madness. Her pacing, her lying, her threats, her little monologue about, I already texted people that you're unstable. All of it, recorded. It was like fate had handed me a life raft while she was busy throwing stones. So while she kept pacing, I slowly walked to the corner of the living room and tapped the top of the tiny camera tucked into the bookshelf. She didn't notice. She was too deep in her performance. I finally cut her off mid-sentence. You should probably stop talking. She blinked. Excuse me. I just pointed to the bookshelf. That's been recording since 7:12 p.m. Every word. Every threat. Including you saying, you don't want to do this, Ellis. Her mouth fell open. And then, for the first time that night, she looked scared. Genuinely scared. Not angry. Not calculating. Just cornered. Like a wild animal that realized the trap wasn't a bluff. You're bluffing, she whispered. I said nothing. She rushed toward the shelf, trying to yank the camera down like that would magically erase everything. This is illegal. You can't record me without my permission. This isn't admissible. I raised an eyebrow. Actually, it's our house. And you gave consent the moment you helped install the system. Remember? You picked out the camera. You said the white ones matched the walls. I watched her unravel again, but this time it wasn't loud. It was quiet. Frantic. She backed up, ran a hand through her hair, muttered to herself. I knew that look. She was scanning her memory, trying to figure out how much damage she'd done, how many lies overlapped, which version of the story would survive now. But she was too late. The truth had a timestamp. I walked over to the kitchen drawer and calmly pulled out the little box where we kept the spare external drives. I'll be backing it up tonight, I said. You know, in case your phone has a sudden accident. Or the cloud mysteriously deletes everything. I'm not taking chances. She didn't reply. She couldn't. She just stood there in the middle of the room, exposed, unmasked, and rapidly shrinking. And I knew then, this was no longer a conversation. This was a countdown. She didn't yell this time. She didn't cry or slam doors or throw things. She just sat down slowly on the edge of the couch, like the weight of everything she'd done had finally landed on her shoulders, and she didn't know how to hold it. For a few seconds, she didn't even look like my wife anymore. She looked like a stranger who was regretting not running when she had the chance. I stood in the doorway to the kitchen, gripping the backup drive so tight, I thought the plastic casing might crack. Part of me wanted her to say something real for once. Not another excuse or some backwards attempt to make me feel like the bad guy. I just wanted her to admit it. But the silence between us was already louder than anything she could say. When she finally did speak, her voice was barely audible. Where do we go from here? I almost laughed. Not because it was funny, because she was still pretending there was a we left. After all that, she still believed there might be a reset button. But the truth was, I didn't even want revenge anymore. I didn't want to hurt her. I just wanted out. I wanted peace. I wanted to feel like a man again in my own house, not some forgotten background character in someone else's secret life. You don't get to ask that, I said calmly. You don't get to crash the plane and then ask where we're flying next. Her eyes welled up with tears, not the crocodile kind she used when she needed to manipulate a situation. These were real. Maybe not because she loved me, but because she realized she wasn't in control anymore. And people like her don't know how to function without control. I never meant to hurt you, she said, the words coming out like ash. You didn't hurt me, I said, setting the drive on the table. You ended us. There's a difference. Then I walked into the bedroom, pulled out the suitcase she always told me to throw away because it was too scratched up for travel, and started packing. Slowly, deliberately, one drawer at a time. I didn't want to storm out. I wanted her to feel every zipper, every hanger, every folded shirt. I wanted her to feel the absence being created in real time. But before I could finish, she stepped into the doorway, arms crossed. Her expression had shifted again, less remorse, more calculation. You're really going to just leave? She asked. Just like that. I stared at her for a long moment. You already left. You just forgot to pack. She didn't move, didn't try to stop me. But then she muttered something so bitter, so cold, it made my hands shake as I zipped the suitcase closed. I bet she's already waiting for you. I blinked. Who? She smiled faintly, like she'd caught me. That girl from your office. The one who always laughs at your jokes even when they're not funny. What's her name? Lorna? Lana? I shook my head. Wow. You cheat, lie, manipulate, and now you're trying to paint me as the one with someone on the side? She shrugged. It's easier to leave when there's a landing pad. I zipped the suitcase with a sharp jerk and turned to face her. You know what's sad? I could have forgiven almost anything if you'd just come clean. If you just said it. One honest sentence. But you've spent so long playing roles, I don't think you even remember who you are anymore. She didn't respond. Just stood there, arms tight across her chest, trying not to cry again. Maybe because she knew it wouldn't work this time. I wheeled the suitcase past her, down the hallway, into the living room. As I reached the front door, I paused, not because I had doubts, but because I needed to say one last thing. By the way, I said over my shoulder, that DS guy? You should probably let him know I'll be sending the footage to his wife. She might want to know where her husband's been spending his nights. And with that, I walked out. But this story isn't over. Because I may have left the house. But she's about to lose everything else. I was only gone for 12 hours when the first message came in. from a number I didn't recognize. Just one line. You're not the only one who knows about DS. That was it. No name. No threats. Just that sentence, like a spark landing on dry leaves. I sat on the bed in the cheap motel I'd booked 2 towns over, still fully dressed, suitcase unopened. I hadn't even slept. My mind kept replaying her face at the door, the way she shifted from regret to venom so quickly, like emotions were just costumes she threw on when convenient. The second message came 2 hours later, this time from a woman. Her name was Harper. I remembered it only because Amanda once mentioned her in passing. Just some ex-client of Derek's, she'd said. Harper sent a long paragraph. No punctuation. All rage. She told me everything. She had been suspicious for months. Her husband, Derek Sawyer, DS. Apparently, he'd been working late, way too often, started wearing cologne again, and once came home with glitter on his collar. The kicker? He claimed it was from his co-worker's kid's birthday party. Classic. So when she saw Amanda's name pop up in Derek's Uber history a few times, usually after 11 p.m., she started digging. Until she found the same name in my message thread from that night. The same initials. The same mistake. And now she wanted proof. I didn't hesitate. I sent her a single 30-second clip. No words. Just Amanda saying, "Tonight was risky but worth it." She replied within minutes. "I'm done playing dumb too." And then the chain reaction began. Harper posted screenshots on Facebook. Then tagged Amanda. Then tagged Derek. Then tagged the yoga studio Amanda used as her alibi. Within an hour, the video had made it into the inbox of Amanda's old boss. The one she begged for freelance gigs from when we were tight on money. The same one she ghosted after getting paid up front. I didn't start the fire, but I didn't stop it either. And by the time Amanda called me in full panic mode later that evening, crying this time, for real, I didn't answer. I just watched the world she built on lies collapse in real time. By the third day, I turned off all the notifications. The texts, the tags, the furious voicemails. Amanda had tried everything. Rage, guilt, pity. She even left a message at my cousin's place, asking if I'd come home just to talk. But there was nothing left to talk about. Not after the whole thing became public. Not after people started choosing sides, and most of them didn't pick hers. She underestimated one thing. Not my anger, not even my pain. She underestimated my quiet. Because while she spiraled online, deleting comments and blocking people who used to praise her artwork, I just sat by the ocean. Alone. Finally quiet. And for the first time in what felt like years, I didn't feel small. I didn't feel pathetic. I didn't feel like someone's emotional punching bag. I just felt still. Whole. Like a page that finally stopped being rewritten. A week later, a small envelope arrived at the P.O. box I'd rented. No return name. Just Amanda's handwriting. Inside was a letter. 5 pages long. Most of it was filled with apologies I didn't believe and memories she hoped would hurt me. But near the end, one sentence stood out. "I didn't think you'd actually leave." And that's the part that stuck with me. Not because it hurt, but because it reminded me how far I'd come. She thought I'd always be there. Always making excuses. Always folding myself in half just to keep her whole. But I didn't. I didn't stay. I didn't scream. I didn't destroy myself to prove a point. I just walked out. And that was enough. It's been 3 months now. I sleep better. I laugh again. I started drawing. Something I hadn't done in years. And no, I'm not dating yet. But I'm not afraid of being alone anymore. Not when I finally figured out that peace isn't something someone else gives you. It's what you build for yourself once you stop letting people break you. So if you're still listening to this, wondering if it's worth standing up for yourself, it is. And I promise, walking away doesn't mean you lost. Sometimes, it's the loudest way to say you finally won.